What's up, everyone? Today, we're diving deep into anime that take darkness to levels you didn't think were possible. We're talking about series that match and even surpass the nightmare that is Berserk. But wait, let me stop you right there. We're absolutely not touching the 2016 adaptation. That disaster deserves to be locked in its own vault of shame. Trust me, nothing gets worse than that catastrophe. Now listen, if your vibe is more cozy romance and feel-good comedies, this probably isn't the video for you because we're ranking the top 10 darkest anime that will completely destroy your peace of mind. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our darkest and most twisted content. And if you make it to the end of this list, drop a comment telling me which anime messed you up the most. All right, buckle up tight because things are about to get disturbingly intense. Let's dive straight into the darkness. Number 10. Midori. There's dark anime. Then there's extremely dark anime. And then there's whatever nightmare fuel this is. On one end of the spectrum, you've got your standard dark anime. On the opposite end, there's Midori, a film so profoundly disturbing, it seems like it was crafted to repel human viewers. Describing it as merely dark feels like a lie. It's not just dark. It's a dive into filth, misery, and mental deterioration, animated with the rage of someone who's witnessed hell and wants to drag you down with them. The narrative centers on Midori, a young orphan girl forced into a traveling circus of freaks. But don't expect any dark carnival entertainment. What unfolds is an unending assault of brutality and pain that makes even the most vicious horror anime seem gentle. And honestly, if I detailed some of what actually happens here, YouTube would probably nuke this video. There's zero comfort, zero resolution, zero salvation, just a painful, agonizing spiral into despair. Unlike series such as Elfen Lied or Another that dress their violence in aesthetic and mood, Midori tears away any pretense and forces your face into the horror. It's unfiltered, it's repulsive, and it will haunt you long after it ends. So only watch this if you're truly mentally ready. And I mean seriously ready. Number 9. Pet. Pet doesn't follow conventional storytelling. It dismantles minds, literally. This is a series where memories get reshaped like putty, and the people manipulating them are emotionally shattered puppets of a bigger machine. The terror in Pet isn't spawned by monsters or spirits. It's about losing grip on your own existence, about forgetting your identity because someone else found it useful. The series is layered, abstract, and brutally unforgiving. And that's precisely what makes it so unsettling. Every single character is damaged. Not in the dramatic, heroic way anime sometimes romanticizes, but in the hollow-eyed, scarred way that makes you question if they were ever intact. The show manipulates the idea of emotional burden. Literally. This is an anime that doesn't merely depict darkness. It engraves it into the characters' psyches and leaves both them and the viewers bleeding. It's grim, intellectual, and ruthless. So give it a shot. You might appreciate it. And honestly, the opening theme of this show was just absolutely incredible. Number 8. Empire of Corpses. Now, the zombie genre has to be one of the most underutilized genres. Seriously, name one zombie anime besides Zom 100, and don't you dare mention High School of the Dead, because nobody watched that for the zombies. We all know where everyone's attention was. Anyway, the Empire of Corpses brings the dead back to life, not for scares, but for workforce, warfare, and advancement. That concept alone should signal how grim this alternate reality anime truly is. Set in a steampunk 19th century world, this film imagines a reality built on Victor Frankenstein's innovations, where corpses are reanimated, drained of soul and consciousness, and recycled as instruments. And who's pulling the strings? Sun Jin-woo. The movie examines what defines humanity by showing what occurs when humanity gets stripped away. And that's where the real horror lies. Not in the grotesque appearance of zombies, but in how civilization embraces their exploitation without hesitation. Soldiers, workers, servants, all lifeless, all voiceless. Society has normalized dehumanization, and anyone who challenges it is labeled insane, threatening, or outdated. This is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood stripped of hope, but it's not about the undead. It's about the death of human worth. So check it out if you're craving something truly twisted. Number 7. Gleipnir. Gleipnir is what you get when you combine the body horror of Parasite, the ethical breakdown of Future Diary, and the not-so-wholesome tension of Devilman Crybaby, then blend them into something even more unstable. And this anime doesn't ease into darkness. It dives headfirst. At its heart, it's about a high schooler who transforms into a monstrous creature and the unstable girl who literally crawls inside him to battle. And as bizarre and uncomfortable as that sounds, it's only the beginning. Everything in Gleipnir feels tainted. The transformations are horrifying, the abilities are unnatural, and every relationship is drowning in manipulation, desperation, or straight-up carnage. The characters aren't aspiring to be heroes. They're just trying to survive long enough to comprehend what's happening, and in doing so, they shed whatever innocence they started with. The show frames power as a curse, identity as a facade, and ethics as something flexible. The series constantly reminds you how twisted these dynamics are, and it feeds off that discomfort. Gleipnir doesn't want you comfortable. It wants you feeling complicit. It's an anime that gazes into the void of teenage anguish, dehumanization, and identity collapse, then hands you the lens. And if you're looking to traumatize yourself, well, maybe check this one out. Number 6. My Home Hero. Now, a warning is absolutely necessary here, because beyond the violence, this anime touches on some extremely sensitive material. So, My Home Hero demonstrates that the most terrifying monsters don't require fangs or powers. They just need motivation. And a father protecting his daughter is one of the most dangerous forces anime has ever presented. The setup is straightforward. An ordinary middle-aged man finds out his daughter is entangled with a violent criminal, and he decides to handle it personally. What follows is a tense, calculated descent into the mind of a man ready to destroy everything for his child. Unlike most anime exploring crime or brutality, this series doesn't romanticize anything. There's no excitement, just relentless paranoia. It taps into the same dread that made Monster so unforgettable. The notion that once you cross that line, regardless of how justified your reasons, there's no turning back. Every action the protagonist takes only digs him deeper, and you're forced to witness him scramble to hide his tracks while his mental state crumbles. And that's the most traumatizing element of this anime. The emotional burden. The anxiety is crushing. Every encounter with the gang, every suspicious look from authorities, every deception told to his wife, each instance is a reminder that his existence is one mistake away from total collapse. It's the psychological intensity of Erased, but without the time travel safety net. There's no miracle solution, just repercussions. My Home Hero is a family tragedy dressed up as a crime drama, and it's heartbreaking in its quiet fury. Number 5. Rin, Daughters of Minamosini God. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. But this isn't just dark in the typical action anime way, it's disturbing down to its foundation. This series takes the idea of immortality and transforms it into a slow-burning, centuries-spanning nightmare. The main character cannot die, and the world ensures she regrets that reality in every conceivable manner. This 6-episode OVA is savage, hyper-violent, and saturated with themes of memory, selfhood, and the price of eternal existence. And like I mentioned, this isn't just dark in the action sense. It's disturbing in its psychological depth. Every episode showcases the protagonist being tortured, killed, mutilated, regenerated, over and over and over. And the violence isn't glossed over either. It's intimate, graphic, and portrayed as both routine and horrifying. But the true burden of the anime isn't in the bloodshed. It's in how the main character persists. Centuries elapse, civilizations shift, but the trauma remains. Her immortality isn't liberation. It's a cage constructed from her own recollections. Minamosini doesn't celebrate suffering. It documents it. Cold, systematic, and unyielding. It's not trying to excite or entertain you. It's trying to leave a mark. And if you watch it, you just might get one. Number 4. Blue Literature Series. This show is pure darkness condensed into 6 classic Japanese literary works adapted into a profoundly uncomfortable yet beautifully animated anthology. Each arc dives into the psyche of a protagonist, collapsing under depression, addiction, loneliness, or self-loathing. There are no creatures here, only human beings. And that's what makes it horrifying. It doesn't exaggerate. It mirrors reality painfully. The animation approach shifts slightly to suit each story's atmosphere, sometimes rough and dreamlike, other times precise and almost clinical. But the emotional weight never eases. It's difficult to watch, not because of gore or shock tactics, but because it portrays mental illness, hopelessness, and emotional collapse, without apology or cushioning. There's no happy ending, no character growth arc, just the harsh reality that not everyone survives their own thoughts. In a sense, Blue Literature Series is the literary sibling of Welcome to the NHK, but stripped of all humor. Each tale reminds you how vulnerable people truly are and how terrifying it is when they fracture silently. This anime doesn't just show darkness. It screams it through monotone narration while the world quietly burns. So make absolutely sure you're prepared to watch this and be ready for your mind to be messed up for the next several months. Number 3. Shadow's House. Now, there's something deeply disturbing about politeness weaponized, and Shadow's house is drenched in it. At first impression, it looks like a gothic storybook, a mysterious mansion, living dolls, faceless aristocrats shrouded in shadow. But this anime wastes zero time clarifying that nothing here is wholesome. Every smile is practiced, every action is surveilled, and every regulation conceals a darker, more vicious reality. What makes Shadow's house so unnerving is how tranquil everything appears. It's the type of psychological terror that doesn't require gore to be frightening, just silence, secrecy, and total authority. The dolls, who are actually human children, are instructed they exist to serve their shadow overlords. But the further the series progresses, the more it exposes that this is less about servitude and more about erasure. These children are conditioned to surrender their very identities in pursuit of perfection. The system isn't chaotic, it's streamlined. Oppression is institutionalized, defiance is fatal, and most disturbingly, many characters don't even recognize they're trapped. That's a unique form of darkness, something the Promised Neverland executed brilliantly. I mean, we're not discussing Season 2, so let's avoid that topic. But this show is horror in its most refined, methodical form, a psychological prison draped in silk. Number 2. ID. Invaded. So picture Psycho Pass if the mental health warnings weren't just decorative text. ID. Invaded is a murder mystery on steroids where the investigators are as fractured as the murderers they pursue. The show weaponizes the mind itself as a crime scene, and what's hidden inside is never secure or stable. The protagonist is a disgraced detective who can only access these dream world crime scenes because he's a killer himself. Every time he enters an ID well, he loses his sense of self, becoming a fragment of who he was. The horror escalates not just from the crimes, but from the disintegration of identity. He's not cracking cases. He's falling apart with every revelation. What makes ID? Invaded Dark isn't just the murders or mental decay. It's the system's cold indifference. The organization deploys broken individuals into broken minds, knowing it will shatter them further, and it does repeatedly. Number 1. Heavenly Delusion. This is the Promised Neverland on absolute steroids. It's darker, grittier, and doesn't suffer from a terrible Season 2. This is what unfolds when you strip away the facade of safety and reveal the decay underneath. On the surface, it's a sci-fi enigma, children raised in a pristine compound, the outside world infested with monstrous entities. But as the narrative develops, it becomes obvious that this isn't just another post-apocalyptic anime. It's a psychological examination of trauma, selfhood, and endurance. The darkness here is multi-layered. There's the literal nightmare of humanoid creatures stalking civilization's remnants, but the genuine terror resides in the structures of manipulation and falsehoods that molded the characters' histories. This series doesn't traffic in cheap shock value. There's a mounting horror that escalates as the sinister truths about the facility and the children inside it emerge. Identities become unclear. Memories contradict. People aren't what they appear. The boundaries between human and weapon, rescuer and predator, guardian and manipulator constantly shift. But the heaviest aspect is its emotional toll, the abuse and the burden of hidden truths. It challenges boundaries not for shock, but to explore what happens to innocence when the world collapses and truth becomes poison. Heavenly Delusion doesn't just depict a destroyed world. It makes you sense the corruption in its core. It's not about hope. It's about what you transform into when hope vanishes. Well, that wraps up today's list, folks. If you managed to make it all the way through, please drop a comment on which anime you believe deserved a spot on this list. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon, setting it to all notifications so you never miss our latest content. And don't forget to smash that like button. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.